Welcome back to DONSLIFE. Welcome to the channel. Thanks for joining today. I'm super excited because we are finally upgrading the outdated 8-inch infotainment system in my GMC Sierra AT4 with a go big or go home screen. We have a brand new 15.6-inch, essentially a tablet, that we're going to be installing in this truck today. Let's go. So today we partnered with AUCAR Auto. They sent over this vertical head unit, Model T style. That's this guy right here. Now, depending on the original features and options, the trim level for your compatible vehicle, you will need to spec it out to be specific to your vehicle to make sure that you get everything that you need. For example, we have all of these cables here. Mine's not going to require a few of them because I have the 8-inch full tech package, 360 cameras. I'm not going to necessarily need those cables there, but I'll probably utilize most of these, which I'll cover in today's video. But I'm really excited to get this larger screen in here. But before we rush to the install, let's go over what we have on the table today. So this is the box it was shipped in. It shows it's installed on a Denali. So I know I have the same trim level as a Denali. I just don't have a Denali. I have an AT4, but all the other stuff is the same as a Denali. So to see that that's already installed in one is comforting. We have our warranty card. We have SIM card adapters. Yes, that's right. You can have a data plan hooked up to your SIM card cable, and you can have internet wherever you have service. So that's an option. I'll probably use a phone hotspot to get internet. We have our installation manual here. Got some QR codes to help with setup and install. But what I like is there is a breakdown of everything in here for you. And I am going to definitely reference this as I go through the install. So this will be my guide a little bit along the way. And then this is really nice. You don't see this very often with, products like this, international products we'll say, where they give you a nice full color, pretty well written tutorial on all of the basic usage functions of the unit itself. I'll do a separate video after I've had some time to use this, but as you can see, it's not even installed yet. So today's video is going to be a thorough installation and then make sure that we have everything up and running and see what challenges, if any, we run into. Let me just highlight some of the cables that I've laid out on the table for you. We have the ability now to hook up an auxiliary camera above and beyond the cameras that are already on the vehicle. We have a speaker or a buzzer and an adapter cable for it. I think this is how we can hear some of the alerts on top of the factory car radio. We have some more adapter cables here. We have some trim plates just to make sure that aesthetically it matches the interior. We have the extra cables I was talking about. They're just adapter cables depending on the trim level that you have. So we're not going to pay too much attention to those because I'm not going to use them. We have an additional microphone here. I think this still uses the factory microphone, but you can always hook up an additional microphone. I've heard reports that it can be better to do that. We'll see. We have some LTE antennas here. We have another GPS antenna. This is the SIM card tray that just pops off. You put your SIM card in there. And then we have an additional USB connector. We'll figure out if the original USBs still work. I think they will, and this is just an extra. So let's get started with taking out the original system. First, you need to remove this bolt on the driver's side. There's not one on the passenger side. It is a 7mm bolt or screw, whatever you want to call it. Got to remove it. Now next, you need to pop off these panels. Now that that screw's undone, we can pop these off. Just pull towards you. You'll see a series of clips. Just keep pulling along. They'll eventually release. You'll have to do that down here as well. And then this has to pull forward. Now I have a sensor here for my ambient lighting, so you can ignore that. Ooh, it's pretty dusty. How embarrassing. I'll have to clean that later. Now that this is pulled off on this side, we got to do the same on the other side, and that will allow us to pull this tray up and out. You just want to make sure you go as far back as these two clips, because this has to be able to lift out, and you can see those would prevent that. Now just a note, not all of you would have this. This is just laying in here because it seems to fit perfectly. This is just some of my auxiliary lighting. So ignore that, you're not going to have that. So now we want to pry this tray up. You can get a pry tool in here. That'll be the first couple clips, and then once you grab that, you can leverage it a little better. So that's what we'll do next. A little protection never hurt anybody. So that can help a little bit. If that makes you feel better. Get your pry tool in there. Just release the clip. I'm not going to protect this side because I'm savage. There, that's released. Now we can lift it up. So I just did that one-handed, so you can see it's not that difficult. Watch out for these cables. You're gonna have to disconnect them if you have them. So we are going to do that next. Now there's also the induction charger cable here. I had mine disconnected because of this switch panel that I put here. And I have an aftermarket induction charger in my armrest, so I don't use this one down here because it's brutally slow. Now we can pull this out and set it aside. Now out of all of the trim pieces on this truck, I despise this one the most because its angle to pull out is just not friendly. It's got to pull this way, but it's really hard to get anything to pull it that way. There's a clip in the middle, and I think there's one here and here and here, but you're just gonna have to work at it and be careful because it is a flimsy piece. So you just want to take your time. A pry tool can help, but I am going to try with my fingers because I'm recording with a camera. So there's an example of the clips there. Ignore this wiring, that's part of my ambient lighting that I installed many years ago. But we're getting there, be careful. I'm gonna go on the other side and then do the middle last. We did it, my friends, so now you can set that aside. Next, we want to remove this trim piece. You can put some tape in an area that you might feel like you need to pry. Protection never hurts, like I said. You really just want to get your fingers in there. And then you can pry it off and set that aside. Now we have 6 T15 screws. There's all 6. I'm going to use a drill. You could use a screwdriver. And a T15 is a Torx bit. Well, I'm pretty sure we can pull this one out and then disconnect all the harnesses that are going to be attached to it. You can usually grab right in the top here and pull. Now we can only pull it out so far because these wires are holding it back. So you want to pull these tabs out. Now that the locks are disengaged, you want to depress these tabs right here. Let me just push that in and then pull these out. And that releases this quite a bit. And just keep moving down. You need to pull these locks out like that, and then depress the tab that's in there and pull out the plug. And just have a few more. Most of these are freed. The hardest one is this adapter here. I don't want to scratch anything, so I'm putting some padding down while I work on this last connector. Got it. Now let's take this to our workbench. Okay, great success. This was taken out trouble-free. Now we got to transfer all of the bits that don't exist in the new one. So you can see we have all these openings here, here, and here. And here we have the pieces for it. Here, here, and right here. So if we flip this over, you can see that little tabs hold everything in. This one here is kind of a giveaway because it's going to use tabs to secure everything. So if you use this as your guide, you can pretty much figure out how to take these pieces off, which is what we're going to do next. Takes a little bit of technique because you're lifting at the same time as undoing the tabs. You can hear I'm having some of them click back in. It can be annoying. There we go. So there's one, there's two. I'll give you some more light for the remainder of these. This one has 4 tabs. You can get your fingers in there or a pry tool. I have to use my pinky. And that just falls out. So that one's done. I'm going to go to the USB port next and save this one for last because I need the room for it. And this one just has tabs similar to the AC outlet. There we go, that was easy. Now for the trailer brake controller, this one has tabs you bend out. So this one you want to kind of push up as you release the tabs. Just 2 on each side, 4 altogether. There you go. Now for the auxiliary adapter, you actually need to flip it over. These are a little trickier. There are little tabs on the inside, and then you have to pull this collar out. I'm using the friction of my finger to pull this collar up while I press the tabs from the inside. Once you pull this out, now you can press the sides in and release the bezel. So these are the sides you push in once you've removed this collar. Now we just need to remove these buttons, and they are secured by these Torx screws. We have 4 of them, looks like a T15 again. Voila. Now let's transfer everything over. Just make sure we don't over tighten these. It's coming together. There are little notches on here to make sure you put it in right. All of these can't be put in wrong. There are little guides on the side, so I couldn't put it the wrong way if I wanted to. Well, I'd say that's coming together. Looks like it's time to start installing many of these cables into the unit here. So that's what I'm going to work on next, starting with this factory LVDS adapter. This is one of the many cables that will allow us to communicate with the truck. Remember, this install is no splicing, no wire cutting whatsoever. Next is our speaker adapter socket. Again, I'm not 100% sure what we'll be using, but I'm going to make sure everything's connected here. So when we go to put it in the vehicle, I have everything at my fingertips. We have our extra USB cables. We have our factory power adapter. This wire is specific to the 2019 to 2021s. There is a different one. Next, we have our power adapter cable. There's actually 2. This is for the 2019 to 2021 with this style of system. This is for the 2022 to 2023. We're not using that one. We're using this one, compatible with my truck. This socket right here is labeled useless socket. I can't make this up, so we're going to skip it, and we're going to go to the auxiliary camera harness socket right beside it in the middle. Next is our SIM card tray. Next are the LTE antennas. Have our GPS antenna. And all that's left for my install are the speaker and the extra microphone. I'm not sure if I'm going to need those, but to connect them, the microphone will connect to the microphone input on the auxiliary cables here. And if I install this, I'll probably run it up by the steering column. And then this speaker, I would just tuck in behind here, and that adapter is this guy right here. So I think I'll probably have it connected and just have it in behind. And then if I need to pull it out because I find out I need to use it, then I'll have access to it and I can find somewhere in the cabin to display it. And wouldn't you know it, my custom AT4 knob covers appear to fit over top of these ones. So I'm going to make mine a little bit more special and put these on. Well, that wasn't so bad. I've certainly had worse. I think we're ready to put it in, but I just wanted to point out a couple things before I actually start installing it, because it's going to be very hard to record all of the connections up close. So let's just have a look at the wiring that's in there again and examine everything. So then when I'm putting this all together, you'll see that it's pretty much like fitting puzzle pieces, and it should be pretty straightforward. So inside here, we have all of our cables that need to connect to all of those adapters that we set up. We have a number of plugs that are going to plug in to the switches that were inside the infotainment system to begin with. And each plug is unique in itself, so we can't mistakenly plug it in somewhere else. So I think it's just a matter of taking some time to do that. You'll notice I have an extra harness in here. That's for my auto start stop eliminator. So you just have to pretend that's not there. But yeah, let's just reconnect all of these plugs. I'll still record doing it, but I'm not going to explain every plug that I plug in because they're all unique to themselves, like I said. And each plug is only going to fit a specific one that's on the back of the new screen. So it should be pretty straightforward. Wish me luck. Well, everything that can be wired up is, from what I can tell, is a bit of a rat's nest right now. For the GPS, the LTE, the USB cables, I'm going to leave them tucked in behind here. You could eventually run them, up to your windshield or somewhere along the pillars up at the front here. I'm not going to do that right now. I'm more interested in just testing this and using this and getting used to it, and then I can fine tune some of that installation if needed. Now there is a plug here that was in the back of the 8-inch screen. This does not get connected to anything, but this is the power for the screen from the 8-inch. So I think we can start to work this back into place and then try it out. So slowly but surely, we're going to get this into place. Remember, I got that speaker down here. I think we do need the speaker connected if we're going to be using any of the factory music. So whether I'm using the factory FM radio, factory Bluetooth, any of those things, we'll want to be able to hear some notifications, and this speaker will allow us to do that over top of any of the factory systems that we use. Now, there is a little tab in the bottom here, a little hook, if you will, that we need to line up. I'm actually going to put a piece of tape here temporarily just to keep these up out of the way while I work on the wiring at the bottom. Here, hopefully that'll hold while I deal with this junk at the bottom here. Okay, we got the bottom in. I think I opened my tailgate by pushing a button. Just got to watch this speaker cable. Don't want it to get caught in anything. Well, it's going to look good. Over there, I think we're lined up. I'm just going to put these screws back in just to hold it in place. I'm going to go old school with a screwdriver just so I have a little more control. Again, because I want to make sure I'm not pinching anything. So I'm just going to get them all started. And we only have 4 to put back in. Now I'll secure the screws nice and tight. Nice and snug would be more accurate. There we go. I was worried it was going to stick out too high. It actually does not. I do like the look of that. Now we have these trim pieces that we can put on there. So that's next. Here's our trim pieces. Pretty easy to figure out how they fit. Nice and glossy. Could even wrap those if we wanted. Fits nice. It is in. Okay, I think we've waited long enough. Would you look at that? Tell me that doesn't look updated. Now remember, I got knob covers on here, so depending on the angle, it might eclipse some of the lighting. Better charge my battery. Pretty fancy. I'm going to need some time to play around with it. Just playing around for a few minutes, I thought I'd show you a few apps demonstrated. So here's Netflix. We can actually download directly to the built-in storage on the device. That's pretty cool. Of course, we got our YouTube here. Of course, you'll want to watch some DONSLIFE videos. So check that out. We can browse the internet with a full Chrome browser. Of course, you'll be able to install all your own apps. I can open the door. I get the indicator here which door is open. We have a full Google Maps. It's going to be a lot of fun, but I need to play around with it for a while. You might be wondering about climate controls. No problem, as long as the vehicle's on or the main accessories turned on, which I have right now. Control the fan speed here. I can control, the flow of the air, however I want to do it. The vehicle will have to be started for the heated seats. I'll show you that just to prove that it's working. You'll notice we have a day and a night mode. So a lot of stuff I got to play with still. So I think we'll save that for another video. But so far, I'm really impressed with the updated look. Well, I think that's where we're going to leave things for today. This was the installation video, so the focus was solely on that. It drives me crazy sometimes when I want to learn how to do a new mod and I can't find any tutorials out there. So hopefully this video served that purpose. There will be a follow-up. We will go through everything I've learned from using the tablet, all the pros, maybe the cons if they exist. But either way, I'll definitely share that with you in an upcoming video, so make sure you subscribe to the channel. Again, I'd like to thank AUCAR Auto for sending this over for today's video. I have a feeling I'm really going to like this product. Time's going to tell. But if you like today's video, hit that like button. Please consider subscribing. We'll talk to you next time.